think she's beautiful. You take her out on a few dates. You realize she's rough around the edges. And so now you want to go to Thailand to get a girl that knows 50 English words, but she's going to be so happy to be taken out of whatever circumstance she's in that she'll be your servant for the rest of your life. It's giving me Coming to America, Bark Like a Dog.
Oh,
Daily back massages.
It's
right.
It's giving me your royal is clean, sir. You don't want a wife, you want a slave.
Okay, I pull up, how about at the after party? You and all your friends say they love to get naughty. Sipping on the heat, I know you love that Bacardi. They just 22, I take you back in the Rari. Okay, I pull up, how about at the after party?
You know, I gotta be honest. Sometimes I listen to these young guys. Like, I don't know if they're millennials or Gen Z, and you hear them and they're talking this rhetoric. This anti-black man rhetoric, this anti-testosterone rhetoric. It sometimes make one put hands on them and shit. Okay, because it feel like they don't have a father. They never had any testosterone in their fucking body to speak of and shit. I have my personal lens and everything. I have a very, some people think it's a standard, upbringing, or maybe it's unique and shit. I can't really go into that, but my from my seat, it just sounds like more social engineering and programming and shit. And these guys are just misinformed. And I feel like there's a growing number of beta male simps and shit that there's less numbers of men here in the West, and I think it's imperative that you somehow find a way to thrive outside of this country and shit, because it's a shit show. I feel like in the last fucking day, sometime when I listen to some of these brothers talking and shit, I was listening to Tim Ross and on the Stupid podcast, and he was talking about guys that went overseas after having a bad experience with a black woman and shit, and he was making disparaging comments that make me want to paintbrush the shit out of him with my palm, because I get tired of these young ass dudes. They don't stand for shit. They don't stand for shit. They don't do their due diligence, and if they do, they lie to themselves. They bury the truth, and they sit up and with their head up their ass, and they just run their mouth for shit. And I'm an angry old man phase and shit. I'm in my mid 50s, okay? I'm Generation X. I'm elder statesman of this fucking community and shit. My generation has the unique or the curse of having been raised by the boomers and what came before, and seeing, being savvy enough to blend into what is now. Okay, it's just shitty. I just see this guy talking. I see a couple other beta male simps running their fucking pie holes and shit, affirming all this negative propaganda in our community that's brought us to the brink of social, interpersonal, spiritual, and some physical. I don't even have a word for it. Armageddon, I guess. Like, we're screwed as a people and shit. We're seen as a joke, and these fucking women are the leaders of the black community, but they gaslight themselves and everyone else every fucking day, and just spout this rhetoric, this retarded rhetoric that has no basis in reality and shit. You can show them numbers and charts. I don't understand how some of these podcast guys sit up with these women and shit, look at them in the face and let them just run off at the mouth. They're giant children, spoiled, coddled children that have a propensity for violence and criminality, hypergamous and otherwise. I don't understand how you do it, man. Okay? I'm not telling somebody that, well, I am telling somebody, we need to, shun these people and shit and lead them to their own devices. They had a prototype for it. America, Negroes in America will become in the future and whatnot. They'll just be a small cog in a big machine. They have no aspiration, to do anything greater except feed off one another in a cannibalistic cash grab and shit. A lot of these fuckers know that they're, affirming negative behaviors and shit. They're reinforcing negative behaviors by looking the other way, by tucking their tails, tucking their cocks, their dicks up there, in their pussy, and just letting it rain, And these women don't give a fuck. They've been socially engineered to undermine you on every level. Okay, they have a disparaging, nasty attitude, and they want your downfall. All right. And seen a thumbnail for a video recently that said some woman was selling merch celebrating Kevin Samuels' death. And it's unfortunate that I mentioned Kevin Samuels, and I know that by mentioning that somebody's gonna face palm and shit. And you can kiss my fucking ass. Okay? Why aren't we allowed to speak? Huh? From this guy's point of view, this Tim Ross guy. Like, why aren't we allowed to speak and shit and express ourselves? And communicate with one another and shit. Why is the black woman above reproach when they do the most horrific things and they destroy their kids for generations? Not just the children that they have, illegitimate or not, but the children of those children, shit, in perpetuity. And what do you have left and shit? You have grist for the mill, cannon fodder, and shit for the the minority majority. Shit, excuse me. Now I try to stay away from saying white people and all that bullshit, because I don't want the motherfuckers coming over here. I want to make it quite clear that this is a safe space for straight black men to speak to one another in all earnesty with no bullshit. I don't present myself as a paragon of virtue, but it's simply a human and shit. But when I hear you young fellas, like some of you millennials and you fucking Gen Z or whatever the fuck, Gen Alpha or whatever, man, I feel like they put hands on you and shit, man. I feel like doing some Chicago shit, and anybody's here that's been listening to my channel, I come from the south side of Chicago. Okay? I grew up in a different time and shit. And I don't like what I see today. It looks too much like the books I read, the required reading that, is non-existent today. The required reading, George Orwell's 1984. Maybe you could go read that book and see what your life will be. Ironically, in a book, they don't say black people. Just like in, right now in the modern times, they call us people of color and don't refer to us at all. They were the most freest in a totalitarian society because they were dumbed down to the point of damn near retardation and shit. And they were just given baubles and shit. Does this sound familiar? I listen to this Tim Ross guy running this pie hole and shit. And I just say, hey, why can't, a guy get a passport and go find a wife in another country or have sex in another country? These women do it. They're doing it more unsafe, okay? And we have to endure this bullshit. Listen to your flawed rhetoric and shit. Why these women celebrate every time something bad happens to a black man. They celebrate that shit. And then they turn around and claim victimhood and shit. Aren't you getting tired of that and shit? I can't stand you young fucking, androgyny ass weird motherfuckers, You have no culture. Okay, you've let the culture slip through your fingers and you act like the women that you idolize and shit. You're sitting up in wonderment of the fucking whore of Babylon and shit. And you got the nerve to lecture all of us and shit. Specifically, you're talking to older men most of the time when you're talking to passport guys. Okay? I knew, brothers was going back as far as the, early to mid 90s. I knew that guys were taking up residence in Brazil and shit for your information. But, I know for a fact, that black women have been doing this shit since the early 70s. They have been traveling overseas and, screwing these guys and, getting used, getting ran through and shit and having their illegitimate kids and, bringing that shit back into the community and shit and fucking up the integrity of it. I know how it makes me sound and shit. But, I feel like it's a clarion call, I feel bad, a lot of idiot ass, feminism and, I can, do all bad all by myself, get black people down bad and shit. There's no fucking unity and shit. It's just a ton of, everyone's backbiting everyone else and shit. And I just think, as a misogynist anarchist, that, the community needs a hard reset, and that won't happen until, the people on top fuck their shit up or enact their stupid ass plan where they're gonna wipe out the entire middle class and make everybody like a serf and, economically they'll be royalty and shit. And you guys will play a big part in it because you bury your fucking head in the sand. You lie to yourself every day and shit. You lie to your children, and you lie to your whoever your mate may be, whatever gender or however the fuck they identify. Who the fuck knows? You know, in a couple years, motherfuckers be dating horses and shit. You know, from the look of things. You know, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted, man. This is an earnest conversation with you, you beta male simps and shit. You know, it's not just about simping to these messed up women and shit. You have the audacity to sit up in our fucking faces and tell us that we have to accept whatever, you know, we have to accept these women as they are. But they don't have to do that shit. And we have to pay for this bullshit. Okay, you want me to pay for a turd on a plate, a paper plate, shit? A stained paper plate? You know, to pay for a substandard product and shit? Do you buy a fucking, do you go to McDonald's and buy a Big Mac with a bite out of it and shit? And no one's saying that the bitch had to be a virgin or nothing, but they gotta know how to pair bond and keep things 10 toes down. This is beyond the scope of these women and shit. They have been raised generationally with a misandrous mindset that is counterproductive to anything we would try to do in society. And they are the fulcrum by which the minority majority sticks it to us and shit, you know. They're middle-management white supremacy, the black community's proctologists and shit, okay, along with yourself, because you're in denial and shit. And we live in such a society that we are unable to enact a primitive, basic level of correction on your ass and shit, a corporal punishment, if you will, because, you know, then you'll be funneled into the criminal justice system, and you'll be even more, they'll strip away more of your identity and destroy you mentally and shit. Well, you become earnestly a slave, right? You ought to be ashamed of yourself for, you know, telling people this, you know, spewing this rhetoric and shit, and spewing it, you know, not just spewing it, but the disrespectful tone that, you know, black men have to hear every fucking day from everybody is, you know, sometimes it gets to be a little much or whatnot. And I find myself, you know, feeling a way about it and shit. And, you know, I came from a nuclear family and shit. My parents got a divorce when I was very young and shit, but I did see my father and everything, but it was the same as being raised in a single parent household and shit. And it leaves a lasting effect and shit, which is why I can speak to you in this manner from a place of emotion and pure logic and shit, which walk hand in hand. Okay? There is nothing left of the community and shit, okay? There's nothing left and shit. The only people that can save this fucking community is its men and shit, okay? And the only way they can do that is by saving themselves.
The Black Patriarchy. A non-existent group of fictional black male power brokers not discredited, erroneously jailed or outright killed by the minority majority who look the other way as they work tirelessly to shame, oppress, and outright take out the altruistic black female populace of the honorable democratic United States of America. 3K's incent bitches. These evil wealthy members of the black patriarchy are the sole reason for all the ills of the black community, walking, talking, holding down jobs, and doing everything up to and including giving their very lives in service to their baby mamas and baby's motherfucking kids. Their motto that strikes fear into the hearts of black women everywhere: bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks.